Happy Friday. This is Pastor Chris coming back to you again with your Friday Primer. Now, don't forget, each and every week we post one of these devotional videos, all dedicated towards getting you ready for Sunday morning service. If you don't have a church home and would like to come and visit, we are at 19 West Shannon, and you are more than invited. Services are at 11 a.m., and we have a first service, of course, at 9 o'clock. We'd love to see you for either one. Come check us out. If you do have a church home, we encourage you to pour in there, make it the best church it can possibly be. Well, we have been on hiatus for a couple weeks, and we are back. The reason we're on hiatus is we were doing a side series, and we are back in 1 Samuel. Today we'll be picking up in 1 Samuel chapter 16. Now, the passage today is a little bit long, and so I'm going to cut it into two pieces, and then we'll talk about it. It goes like this. It says, "Now the Lord said to Samuel, 'How long will you grieve over Saul, since you've rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and go. I will send to you Jesse, the Bethlehemite, for whom I selected as king for myself among his sons.'" And that is just the first verse of chapter 16. Now, Samuel knows at this point that Saul is going to be very upset with him for going to pick another king, even though he knows full well that this is what is going to happen. And so he kind of gets his courage up, and he goes and does exactly that. He goes looking for Jesse, has no problem finding him, and then Jesse brings forward all of his sons. Obviously, Jesse is very excited that one of his sons is going to be the future king of Israel. Brings all these sons forward, and they're all large, strapping men, right? And all men that the community looks up to. And it gets to the very end, and Samuel says, "Well, the king is not here. Do you have another son?" He says, "Well, I have one more, but he's just a child, and he's out working the fields and shepherding." He says, "Well, I'm not going to do anything until you bring him." And so he does. And that jumps us all the way down to verse 12. So if you're following along at home and you want to read the middle passages, feel free to open up to 1 Samuel and do that. But chapter 12 says this. It says, "So he sent and brought him. Now he was ruddy with beautiful eyes and a handsome appearance. And the Lord said, 'Arise, anoint him, for this is he.' Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord fell upon him, fell mightily upon David. And that day forward, and Samuel rose and went to Ramah." See, right here in verse 13, he's anointed, right? And what I find very interesting is this man that God has chosen was not really a man at all, just a boy, frankly. Now, it says he was ruddy and he was a man after God's own heart, and so we know it's the right guy. But sometimes the way people look at you or me or other leaders in your local congregation or your church, and you say, "Why that person? Why not this other guy, this other gal that clearly has more education or more talent or is better looking or just makes more sense?" Yet when God anoints, God anoints. So I encourage you to uplift the leaders that God has put over you. But on top of that, I think there's something for each and every person, and that is that God may have something specific for you. And it may not be the most obvious thing. David was clearly not the most obvious choice in this situation, yet God may be choosing you to do something amazing. So my encouragement for you this week is to pray and ask God to do two things. One, help you get out of your own way so you can hear the Spirit and not just your own opinions and biases that we all have. And number two, what is it that God may have for you? Some leadership thing that you could be picking up in your church and running with and making better for the kingdom, but maybe, just maybe, you've never seen yourself that way or no one else has said that thing about you, but you know in your heart of hearts and the Spirit leading that you'd be very good at. I want you to consider asking God to show you what those things would be so you can be of more use to the global kingdom of God than you are today. Well, that is my encouragement for you this week, and that is our passage for this week. If you want the whole passage and all my thoughts, I'll see you on Sunday morning. Well, God bless, and thanks for hanging out with us.